What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm bringing you an updated BT15 tier list. A little bit over a month ago, I made a BT15 tier list where I was just getting back into the game, and so I was just kind of giving my first impressions of the current metagame. It was obviously very wrong, and so we're going to be going back and updating it now that I've been playing basically every single day, studying tournament results, and just getting a lot more knowledge in the current metagame and what's doing well and what's not doing well. So this tier list, I couldn't find the same tier list I used in that video. I think it got taken down, but this tier list has so many decks on it, so I'm going to try to go through it pretty quick, but even though it has a ton of decks, it might miss a couple decks, and so if there's any decks that I didn't list that you want to know, just comment down below, and I'll let you know where I would rank it. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and get on into it. Alright, starting off with Blue Flare. As a lot of you know, I am a Blue Flare hater, but it's actually semi-decent right now. I think blue in general is actually just doing pretty well. I think it has a lot of really good matchups. I don't think Blue Flare is super crazy, but I don't think it's as terrible as I might have previously thought. I think I kind of want to put it at like the bottom of tier 2. I don't know if it's like top tier 3. I think it's viable. There's not a lot of results and a lot of people playing it. It's probably just like somewhere around tier 3. I don't think it's that terrible. I think a lot of the times I'd put it like low tier 3, trash tier, but it's really not that bad. Alright, next up we just have this maid mode. I don't think there's anything on here that's representing SetCon, and so I think this is just going to kind of be the SetCon representation. And we're just going to start right off the bat, and we're going to upset some people. It's tier 1, maybe the bottom of tier 1, but it just topped a couple times in the online regionals. I think it has a really solid matchup versus most of the metagame. It does have some troubles versus things like Red Hybrid, maybe even like the Numamon deck, but it's still just SetCon is SetCon. I don't think SetCon can ever really be below tier 2, but in the current metagame and from my testing with SetCon, it is definitely up there with the tier 1 decks. Bloom Lord, last time I put at tier 1. It's a tier 2 deck for sure. I don't know where in tier 2. We'll kind of figure that out as we get lower or further on into the tier list, but Bloom Lord is still pretty strong. You're able to go really wide really quick. You can do a bunch of checks. Hydramon, Quantumon, Quartzmon, these are all very strong cards as well. So I think Bloom Lord is really strong. Does have problems with some floodgates. Can get kind of cleared out by things like Death X, but it's still just a very strong deck and you can get results with it. Nightmon, I don't think I've even seen a single person play Nightmon in BT15, so I'm going to put it in trash tier. I don't really personally think it's a trash tier deck, but with nobody else playing it, I don't really know where to put that. Omnimon Megazoo is like probably somewhere at the top of tier 3. I think it's a really cool deck. I think it does have some pretty decent matchups, but it's also just one of those decks where it can lose pretty hard to like really solid early game aggression, and if you are able to like cheaply remove their level 7s, then they have a lot harder time being able to recover, because it's one of those decks where you kind of have to give your opponent a ton of memory to be able to operate it. And so if they're able to just use that memory to clear off your board, it can be a problem, or use that memory to just be aggressive or build their own stack. It can kind of fall behind, but I don't think the deck is too bad. Going into Jesmon. Jesmon is a deck that I also haven't really seen too many people play, but the Savior got unrestricted, so I don't think it's too bad. It's definitely not as good as Blue Flare right now, I don't think, and so I'll just put Jesmon there. I will concede that I could be wrong with this placement. It could go up, it could go down. I just haven't really seen it doing too much in the current metagame, and I think there's just a lot of decks above it that are going to be able to just do better than it in like a tournament scenario. Grace Novamon is a cool deck, but I think it's bad. It's not trash tier, but it's probably like tier 3. I don't really think it's that good. I think it has like cool little mechanics and it has some strong cards to be able to gain a bunch of memory and then be able to just kind of keep swapping between your two megas. It's pretty cool, but I can't really say anytime I've played against it I've had any problems, nor do I really think that there's a lot of... I think there's a lot of decks on this list that are going to be just above it that will just kind of clear this deck, and so I think it's just going to go down to somewhere in tier 3. Black War Greymon's an interesting one because I think Black War Greymon just inherently is like a strong deck. A part of me wants to put it low tier 2 because I feel weird putting it at tier 3. It's just what it's able to do is very strong, and there's a lot of decks that it can just kind of run over. Like if you are a deck that is focused on having tamers, you're going to get cleared out. If you're playing things like Setcon or whatever, it's also going to have a really good matchup. And so I think Black War Greymon is a deck that's here to stay for a while. It's still pretty good. It's not anything like it was back in like BT11, but it is still something that I think is pretty strong. I think I'll respect it by putting it low tier 2. Tier 3 just doesn't feel right for Black War Greymon. Next up, we got Galactamon. We're just going to put it in trash tier and move on into Red Hybrid, which Red Hybrid, I feel like, is Red Hybrid tier 1 or is it low tier 2? Red Hybrid is just kind of like that deck where it's a one-line deck. You do one thing, no matchup you ever change what you're doing. You do the same thing in every matchup, and you play a game of solitaire where you either kill them or they just kind of ace you out of the game. And so it's so strong and it's stuck around for so long that it kind of feels like it's tier 1 right now, especially if I have Setcon up here, because it is kind of like one of, if not the natural counter to the deck. But I feel like it's also just really good versus a lot of other decks. So I don't know if this is tier 1 or like top of tier 2. I don't really want to put a ton of decks in tier 1, because then I feel like if there's a ton of decks in tier 1, then tier 1's kind of irrelevant. So I'm trying to think of what I would put in tier 1 going forward. I think I'll keep it low tier. I'll put it high tier 1 for now, but I think there's a chance that when we get later down into the tier list that I'll move this up. It's somewhere here, like in the middle, like maybe tier 1.5. I don't really believe in tier 0.5 anything. I think it's just tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. But if there was a tier 1.5, this is probably like the staple deck for it. Ulforce is a very strong deck. I think it is a deck that can do really well considering the like amount of ace cards in the format right now. Just being able to continually bounce and then swing for like 6 checks in one turn is really strong. You can gain a bunch of memory when you're swinging as well. You have cards like Jerry that can play out Leomon and stuff, and so I feel like Ulforce is pretty good. I think I like Ulforce a little bit more than Black War Greymon, but not as much as Bloomlordmon, so I think it'd go somewhere around here. But I think it's a pretty decent deck right now. I don't think it has a lot of representation right now, which is like why it should maybe be lower. But I think as far as just the whole scale of the metagame, I think Ulforce is pretty decent right now and can just have a lot of decent matchups just off the fact that it's able to bounce so many Digimon up to level 7 just for free, basically. And so you can get a lot done with this deck. Next up, we have Imperial, which is another deck that I haven't seen anybody really play or talk about in BT15. It's obviously a deck that's going to get a lot better in future sets with the new support. So as of right now, just because I'm not really seeing anybody play it or talk about it, I think I'll go here. I think the fighter mode itself is a pretty strong card just because you can so easily just gain like Sec +1 blocker. You can use Davis Ken to unsuspend and just go for a bunch of checks. I think it's decent swinging with jamming and all that stuff, but just because the fact that nobody's really on it right now is kind of an indicator that it shouldn't really be too much higher. I don't think it's trash tier. Is it trash? No, it's not trash tier. It's tier 3 for sure. It's somewhere around here. I'm not sure where to put this. Just as somebody who's an Imperial Dramon lover, I want it to be higher, but I know that in future sets it's going to go up. As of right now, I don't think it's doing too much. Next up, we got Machine Dramon, which I'm just going to kind of put at the top of tier 3. I think it's decent right now, but I also think it could be cleared out just by a lot of decks. If you are playing like mass Source Strip decks and like Zudo Ace and stuff like that, I think you can check a lot of what's going on here. I think some decks where it's supposed to have a good matchup on, it doesn't even really have that great of a matchup. I think it's just one of those decks where you can just kind of burst out these level 6s that have like all these different protections. You're going to have 17 different inheritables that all do different things. You're able to trash security, get Sec +1, have blockers, gain memory, piercing, whatever. There's so much that you can do with it, but from my experience, I think it's a deck that's really strong, but it's not anything where I wouldn't expect Machine Dramon to really win anything in this format. So I think it's somewhere between the tier 2 and the tier 3. I think I'll just put it in tier 3 for now. Tier 3, just because there's so many decks on the list right now, we're probably going to be having a pretty fat tier 3 here. So we're going to see this build up pretty quick, but I do think that this deck is pretty decent right now, but it's just not anything too crazy. Okay, the Arrestramon deck, I kind of want to get controversial and put it in trash tier just because I haven't seen this deck do anything. I've played against it, hasn't done too much. Maybe it's like a tier 3. It's probably a tier 3. I think it can do something, but like a part of me just kind of wants to put it in like in trash tier because it's just outclassed by like every purple deck in the game right now. We have Levia, we have Lugamon, Beelstar, even like all these decks that are purple decks kind of just beat it, and so I feel like it's trash tier or tier 3, but my first instinct is trash tier. It's my tier list. We're running it. Beelzemon itself as a deck is kind of like the same thing as Restramon, where I feel like it's just kind of outclassed by all the other mainstay purple decks in the metagame right now. I have seen like Beelzemon, Leviamon decks, and so I feel like that itself could potentially work, but that's more so a Leviamon deck more so than it is a Beelzemon deck. And so I just feel like it's just outclassed right now and not really too great, especially with how quickly you're decking out right now. I think a lot of the times I've just seen this deck out before it actually wins the game. Beelzemon did have its reign of terror for... I mean, it's hard to put this in trash tier just because it had a reign of terror for so long, and it was just kind of like the best deck, but I just don't really know what it's doing right now. Maybe that's the lack of people at my locals playing it and kind of the lack of people playing it in general, where it kind of want to put it in trash tier. Maybe it goes up to tier 3. I could see it being like better than Grace Novamon for sure. In fact, Jesmon's better than Grace Novamon. Yeah, I'll just put it in tier 3. I think it feels bad for me to put it in trash tier, but my thoughts are there. I think it is a little bit trash. Bogger Army low-key kind of slaps. Not in a way where it's like a tier 1 deck, but Bogger Army is a deck that I feel like is slept on kind of hard. I think it has the capabilities to just be really strong, and so a part of me, I like Bogger Army more than I like Machine Dramon in a full tournament aspect. So maybe we just go tier 3. I don't really want to put it in tier 2. It has a couple tops. I think it can go kind of hard. It is a save deck, and so you're able to kind of like recur all your sources, but I don't think it's anything too insane. So we'll just keep filling up this tier 3 here. Royal Knights, I feel like is kind of tier 2. It's kind of fallen off. There's not really any tops, but it's just that deck where if it pops off and you can't answer, it's just really good. It kind of just puts you on a clock in a way where like Mother D Reaper does, but it's just like a better Mother D Reaper where you have your opponent on a clock, but you just have so much versatility in what you can do. You have better search. You just have better cards in general. I don't know if I want to put Royal Knights. I like Royal Knights more than I like a lot of these decks. And so I feel like it's a little bit more tier 2. I'm going to switch this. Oh, maybe. Oh my goodness, this freaking tier list. There we go. I think we'll put it in tier 2 for now, just because there's so many decks on this list. Shine Greymon, kind of the same thing. I think it's a decent deck. I think it can just kind of pop off if you get things going, but also it's like the brickiest deck I might have ever played. Every single time I play Shine Greymon, I just lose games off the fact that my hand is just so awkward and so weird. You have really strong option cards you can play. Having yellow and red accessibility means you have a lot of removal options. You have Shine Greymon, which is removal, and you have a lot of checks, but this deck just has felt so bricky when I play it, when I play against it, my opponent bricks. It's just going to go there for now. Jumbo Gamumon, I'm just going to put it in What Are We Doing, because I don't really know what we're doing with that deck, and so sure. Mirage slaps. Mirage is better than Bloomlord for sure. It's so good right now. I don't know if... Do I put it in tier 1? I think it just won an event, right? Or it got like top 4 in an event. It's really strong. It's like it's right below Red Hybrid for sure. So like if we moved Red Hybrid up to tier 1, then it would be right there. I think it's these two are like interchangeable depending on what your opinion is. I think Mirage is just really good. You can kind of sack your opponent really hard. You have a ton of ways to just gain memory, and if you're playing against a deck that actively adds cards to their hand, you essentially just pass turns and you kill multiple cards in their hand or on their board because they just can't really utilize the effect anymore because they're just going to lose all this memory and pass turn. The deck is super insane, and so yeah, we're gonna... These two are somewhere in this range. Not 100% sure yet. Kentaurismon, I'm going to put it in What Are We Doing? Because, again, I don't really know what we're doing here. Rosemon, I'm going to put in trash tier because it doesn't feel like a tier 3 deck. It feels like a fan favorite type of deck that has the capability to go to like burst mode and you can pop off, but it's going to lose to a lot of these decks most of the time. I kind of feel bad putting Rosemon in trash tier, but that's just kind of where we're at. Belphemon is also going to go in there because it's not doing too much. Like, the only times I really see Belphemon are like post ban list Apoclymon, and that's not really a prominent deck right now, and so I think it's just going to go there. I don't really have too much to say about this. Same thing with Ravemon. I enjoy Ravemon as a deck, but even when I've been piloting it, it's just not that good. It's not really doing too much. I want to believe. I want it to be better. I want it to be up in these tiers with numbers and not the trash, but that's just kind of where I'm feeling it. Goldramon, we're going to put in What Are We Doing because there's not really a deck based around this. I think Goldramon itself is a really cool card, being able to spawn out tokens with Rush and Blocker. When I first went to pre-release and I read this card, I was like, oh, this card's going to be insane. In testing, it's really just kind of mid. It has a cool effect for a Mega, but there's just so many powerful Megas that it's just not really doing too much for me right now. So I'm going to put it in What Are We Doing? Just this is like the, I don't know what deck we're building around this. So Goldramon's going to go there. Yellow Vaccine is right below Mirage. The deck is super sick. I think it's really strong itself. I think it's a deck that just kind of always might get better off of the fact that every time they print cards, they're probably going to add stuff that can be put into this. And since it is a yellow-based deck, you are going to be having some pretty insane removal options, as well as just great tamers and Digimon itself with great effects. So I really like Yellow Vaccine. I don't want to put it above Red Hybrid or Mirage, so we're going to throw it right there. Numemon, I gotta apologize to you, Numemon. In the last tier list, I wasn't familiar with your game, but this deck is crazy. Winning a regional, top in regionals. It might be contention for the best deck in the format right now against like Leviamon, but this deck is just so sticky and is able to just kind of pop off continually because you're able to just keep recurring different things. You have the X antibody, which can just play itself. This deck is super nice. You have really good top end options because you can go with the Merciful mode, you can go for Ruin mode, you can go whatever, right? I think the Numemon deck is obviously very powerful and in contention for the best deck, so it's going to be an auto tier 1. D-Brigade is like tier 2, probably somewhere in one of these two slots. I think D-Brigade is a deck where it can have some really bad matchups, but it's not a tier 3 deck because you have so many different ways to build it. You can play an aggro version, you can play standard mid-range version with like the Cargodramon and the Brigadramon to just go wide, and you have like infinite blockers with the Brigadramon. You can also go with the new greens package with like all the Ryudomon and stuff, and so this deck is it's tier 2 off of its versatility for me. I think it's just one of those decks where you are able to build it in so many different ways, and you can have so many different play styles while also being a deck that's just very sticky and able to play out a lot of Digimon for free, so you can kind of just overwhelm your opponent. And then also you have great removal options in the black, whether you want to de-digivolve, you want to pop things with Iron Fisted Onslaught, whatever you want to do, you have some great options here. So I think D-Brigade is just a very versatile deck, and it's something that has stuck around since the beginning of the game, basically since BT4, and will probably be around for a while. It'll probably fluctuate between like tier 3 and tier 2, but it's just a very versatile deck. I'm going to be completely honest, I don't even know what this Digimon is, and I couldn't find it on the DigimonCard.dev app, so we're just going to throw it here. Lugamon. Lugamon's somewhere at top of tier 2. I don't know where I want to put this. I kind of want to put it right here because it's like, I think Mirage, I don't know. It's so good because you are able to just swing so many checks. You have this game-breaking mechanic where you don't pass turn until your opponent's at 3 memory instead of 0, which is unheard of up until its release. You're able to go wide. You're able to check a bunch of stuff. You have different color options now because you have different dual colors, so that allows you to play like red options as well. And so I think Lugamon is really strong. These three, the Red Hybrid, the Mirage, and the Lugamon, are all very interesting to me because I'm not 100% sure where I want to put these in the tier 1, tier 2 slot, but they're all kind of very close in my mind, and once we get to the end of the tier list, this might adjust a little bit, but I think it's going like right here above Yellow Vaccine. War Greymon, I feel like Greymon in name always will just make the deck like viable, because Bandai just loves their Greymons, so they're going to keep printing crazy Greymon. It's Greymon the card game. This particular deck I haven't played against personally, so this is going to be like a theory tier. I think it's going to be like in tier 3, because I haven't seen too much representation for it. It might go up into tier 2 or something. Like I said, I haven't played against it or seen anybody play it or talk about it, but just off the fact that it's a Greymon, you have the ability to Digivolve up, you get the Sec +1, the piercing, all that stuff. I think it's okay. I think if you're just playing a big stack red War Greymon deck, it's going to be pretty decent, so let's put it here. Lord Nightmon, I have no idea why it's on this tier list. It's just, I don't know. Let's put it here. I love Lord Nightmon. BT5 is around the time I started playing the game. I was a huge Lord Nightmon. I got my first 2 tops with Lord Nightmon. I got my first locals wins with Lord Nightmon and stuff like that. So I have a good connection with this deck, but it's not doing anything right here. Not sure what Zwart Defeat is supposed to symbolize, so we're just going to go ahead and put it in there. Agubond is premium trash, okay? It's not good right now. I've been cooking with it. You might see some gameplay of me playing it here soon, because I have been cooking up some Agubond because I am a big fan of Bond, but it is trash, but it is some premium grade A trash. It is some gold tier trash. Now Gabu Bond of Friendship. We had Agubond in trash tier. Bond of Friendship is tier 2 at minimum. It's better than Ulforce. I'm gonna say it. It has great matchups right now. It does so well versus a lot of decks. It is insanely quick. I played Gabubond at a few locals. I think my total record at locals was like 12-3 in sets or something. And I think the longest set I played was about 20 minutes. So it's a deck that wins quick. And it's also just able to stop a lot of decks. It's really well positioned into purple decks, because a lot of them need to work around their level 5. So just being able to bottom deck, swing for 3 checks, and then be able to use analog to hatch, put another rookie in the back, go for back-to-back bonds. You can play Ancient. You have access to Zudomon Ace. You have all the amazing blue cards, Hammer Spark, Ice Wall, Memory Boost, Training, Foxfire. Foxfire is insane. The deck is really good. People might not agree with my Bond of Friendship placement. That's fine. The deck is arguably, it's the second best it's ever been. Obviously in BT6 it was the deck. It died off, but now it is back. It has actual good matchups. It's very aggressive. It's very quick. With the addition of Ukomon, Louis, Foxfire, you got insane buffs, and so Gabubond tier 2 for sure. Eosmon is trash. I'm going to put it at the bottom of trash. Beelstarmon, my Bay star. If you've been watching my shorts or anything, you know I'm a huge Beelstar lover. I love this deck with a passion. Realistically, where do I put it? Bottom of tier 2. I think it's a deck that has some insane matchups versus a lot of these decks that have, like, their main thing is just to go into a mega and swing a bunch of checks. Beelstar has a great matchup because you are able to just, like, if you hit security, hit Rival's Barrage, Fly Bullet, Cocytus Breath, whatever, you clear it off, you're able to play Beelstar for free, go for Nail Bones or whatever, then you can go into Ruin mode. It's very easy to play Death X in here, but it does have a lot of problems. It loses pretty hard to, like, Numamon. It loses to Red Hybrid. I think it can beat Red Hybrid, but it's not a close matchup. It just has the capabilities. It's actually worse into SetCon now than I think it's ever been, because normally I feel like Beelstar auto won it, but with the inclusion of things like a Zulong Ace and the Magna-Angemon Ace, it really kind of shut it down a little bit. And so Beelstar is without a doubt a tier 2 deck, even after the Garurumon, the Guru package got banned or restricted. It's bottom of tier 2, somewhere in these bottom like 3 or 4 decks. I'll just put it down here for now because I feel like it's kind of safe. Realistically, I'd probably put it like right above D-Brigade if we were going this in like what I think is strength order. I just think it's pretty decent. It's like a aggressive SetCon, but it does have some of its flaws because unlike SetCon, you can't recover. So if you just get hit out early and you don't hit any security bombs, you just fall super far behind, and you also have the ability to just mulligan into like 5-7 cost options, and then you just scoop and go next game. Blue hybrid we'll put into like tier, we'll put it right below blue flare. I don't like, a part of me wants to put blue hybrid in like trash tier because it's not really a deck right now, but it is one of those things where you just have that ability with Tommy to and Korikakumon to stun. Beowulfmon's really strong. You can go like OG with like a Zulong. You also have the ability to go Weregrumon Ace, Zudomon Ace. Again, like I was talking about with Bond of Friendship, you have a lot of blue options that you can go into for protection. So I think it's somewhere in tier 3. I kind of just want to respect it because it is blue hybrid. Yellow hybrid I feel like is just yellow vaccine, which I already ranked up here in tier 2, and so I think I'm just going to put it in what are we doing, because I don't think there's really dedicated yellow hybrid lists. I feel like you are just playing yellow vaccine. Green hybrid, I'm going to put it at the second in trash tier for personal preferences, because this is some grade A trash, okay? It is so bad right now, but I love it. The whole deck is sick. I love it. I've been testing it a little bit. It's really bad, but I think it's cool trash. It's really cool trash. It's like if you put sunglasses on a trash can, you get green hybrid. Purple hybrid is just trash. I would put it in what are we doing, but this is for like the decks where it's like I don't really know what we're building. I know what's going on with purple hybrid. I understand. It's just bad. All right, I got Myotismon, trash. Just, I want to put it, it's like, I want to, even though I know what we're doing with the deck, I kind of understand what we're building. I want to put it in what are we doing, just because it's like, why are you even building this? It's not for me. Melga is probably better than Bond of Friendship. Like, we have these 3 blue decks right here that can all kind of be interchanged between each other with the Melga, the Bond, and the Ulforce. I think Melga is just very strong. Melga was the BT9 menace all the way up to like BT12, but it's still really strong. You got the new Metal Garurumon, you got the blue-purple cards. Even with the restriction, it's not that big of a deal, because with this deck, you can play the BT9 Gabumon X, you can play the BT9 Garuru X, you have the promo Garurumon, you have the BT9 Melga, which can bounce, but the new one is like a turbo ice wall. I think Melga is decent. I think it's one of those decks where like Melga can compete in a tournament and do well, and it will for sure, like during this season, just because it's like Greymon decks where it's like Garurumon also just gets really good cards. All right, next up we got Armors. So personally, I think Armors is like an overhyped tier 3 deck. I don't think Armors is that good right now, if I'm gonna be completely honest, but statistically it's probably like a tier 2 deck. It's better than Beelstar. It's better than probably Ulforce too. It hard loses to Bond. It might be up here, like statistically. I don't know where to put this, because like a part of me just wants to put it like the top of tier 3 and call it good, because that's how I feel about it. But there's a lot of people playing it. There's a lot of support for it. Once the new Magna X come out, it's gonna be ridiculous, and so it's like one of those decks where I don't fully respect it right now, but I know that it's a decent deck and it's gonna get better in the future, so let's just run it up. Gaomon I'm gonna put in what are we doing, because I already ranked Black War Greymon. To me, that's like the same deck. Alphamon I'll just put right here. I don't see Alphamon doing too much, to be completely honest, but it's not that bad, and so I'll just go ahead and put it there. Like, you got a lot of new X-Antibody stuff. You can pop off with the Oryukin and stuff like that, but I don't think it's a deck that you should really be playing in the current format. All right, we were running out of space, so I had to fix the layout there for a second, so sorry about that sudden change. Next up, we got D-Reaper, premium grade trash, not a good deck. It's a meme deck. It's pretty bad, but it's cool. I think it's the only deck where it has a card where it says you can play up to 50 copies that I think is actually can be viable. Like, just because you have Reaper, and if your opponent can't answer the clock, then once that clock hits 0, they just lose the game. And so it's trash tier, but it's still cool. Justimon is trash. Not much to say there. Gallantmon, I'm going to put like high tier 3. I don't think Gallantmon is super crazy right now, but I also don't think it's that bad. I think you have some matchups where it's going to be really good, and then Crimson Mode itself is just already like a really good card, and so we're just going to go ahead and run it up there. All right, sorry for another layout change. Every time I put cards in here, I keep running out and I can't grab the tier list cards. So we're zooming out. This tier list is huge. Dorbikmon, trash. Easy. Well, it's better trash. It's like here. It's all right. All right. Next up, we have this one. I forgot what this Digimon is called, so we're just gonna throw it in there. Red Purple Imperial is some cool tier 3 deck. I think it's decent. It's not anything too good, but I don't think it's terrible. It's viable to a degree. Same thing with Examon. I'm gonna kind of put them next to each other. I feel like both these decks have like a similar amount of viability, while being like decks that were really good in the past. Not as good right now. We'll get support in the future. We'll be better in the future, but as of right now, like they are viable to a degree at like a local level, but not anything too much. Shadow Serafi is probably what represented Setcon, so I'm just gonna move that down there because then I don't really Sakuyamon made mode. Sure, this is probably Setcon, so we're just gonna replace the icon. All right, this little Omnimon DNA deck in the last tier list, I was like, I don't know what deck this is. And then a lot of people got mad at me because they were like, how do you not know? Well, guess what? We're a month later. I've researched a bunch. Nobody plays this deck. It isn't topping anything. I still don't know what it does. But because everybody got mad at me for not knowing what it was, I'll put it in tier 3 because people respect it. I still don't know what's going on. I forget what this Digimon's name is called, but I do think this card is pretty good. I feel like it kind of just goes in decks that we've already ranked, so I don't think it's its own deck, so I'm gonna put it right there. But being able to like trash the security and then make it so you're not, like, you can't really die is pretty cool. I think it's a cool card, but it's not really doing too much right now. All right, next up we got, I think it's called Marukimon. That's going in the what are we doing, because I don't know what's going on. The Leopardmon X Antibody is also a deck where I got a little bit of criticism for my ranking last time, but I'm just gonna put it in trash. I'm sorry. I haven't played against it. Nobody's talked about it. I don't know what good matchups we could even possibly have with it, to be completely honest, so we're just going to go there. Metal Edamon's going to go into the what are we doing tier, because I feel like it's just kind of the Numemon deck to a degree, and I also don't think this specific card is too crazy. Heavy Leomon is, like, low-key pretty cool. I don't think it's as cool as Gallantmon. Like, maybe this is a tier 2 deck. Fortitude, like, I don't know. Is it down here? It might be here somewhere. Fortitude is a pretty sick ability. You're able to, like, not warp, but you're able to, like, digivolve off of effects, which helps you get up faster. I think it's a decent deck. I don't know. I kind of want to put it here, if I'm being completely honest. I think it's a cool deck. I think it's viable. Maybe I'm disrespecting a little bit, but this is Grace Novamon. I'm an idiot. This is the Shoutmon something. I'm just going to keep it there. That's Crossheart. My bad. I saw the red-blue, the blurry image. I thought it was Grace Nova. It is not. This is Shoutmon X5 or whatever, whichever one it is. I think Crossheart's worse than Blue Flare right now, but maybe it's probably better than, like, it's better than these decks probably. So I'll put them next to each other. Grace Novamon going here. Dava's is the nuts. Dava's is better than Fenrir Lugamon in my opinion. This deck is insane. Just being able to just continually go for level 5s. You have the Antilamons. You have a million blocker inheritables. You can play all these sick ace cards. Ibanwu, a Zulong, Zuchao are sick. Baihumon's mid, but the other three are pretty sick. Fanglong itself is obviously very strong board clear, and then being able to, like, trash security when you swing is very nice, and then you can play it out for cheap. And so I think the deck is really good. I think we're about to see a huge uptick of this deck coming up soon, and so maybe I'm giving this a little bit more respect than other people will, but the Davis is good. Promo Blackboard Greymon, don't know what we're doing there. The Rust Tyrannomon, I also don't really know what deck we're building around it. This card is more expensive than I thought it should be, because I got a couple and I was looking up the price and I was like, whoa. I'm not 100% sure what deck we're putting this in. Diaboromon, I'm still a Diaboromon hater till we get the alt win condition. I don't care. Throw it in trash. Rookie Rush is like the... Rookie Rush... Where's Rookie Rush? Rookie Rush is like right here. I think it's pretty bad, but it's not trash. You're basically playing Floodgate Turbo, and there are just multiple decks where if you just get the right Floodgate out at the right time, then you kind of just shut them down, and then the ability to just continually go with the Uko and Louis is very strong. Heaven's Judgment is a hell of a card, so Rookie Rush I think is pretty decent. It's kind of trash, but it's not trash tier. It's just like a bad tier 3 deck, but I think it's has a better chance to just at least win games off the fact that sometimes your opponent can't answer the aggression, and sometimes they can't answer the fact that you have 3 different floodgates on the board that shut off every card in their hand. I forget this boy's name, and I also haven't seen the deck. It's like the Gamamon deck, I'm pretty sure. Not too good. Jellymon deck is trash tier, but it's decent trash. It's like borderline viable, but at the same time, it's just worse than like every other blue deck. So I'm not the biggest fan. Another one where I'm not 100% sure what we're doing with that deck. I haven't. That's like one of the few decks where I literally haven't seen it at all. I don't even know what this card does, if I'm being completely honest. Mastamon is also premium grade trash. It's probably better than a green hybrid. It's trash. It was really good at one point. I think it's a little too slow now, and then didn't really get a lot of cards that I feel like helped it out in the newer sets. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it in trash here, but it's some good trash. Ragna Lordmon. I don't know who plays Ragna Lordmon outside of my boy Ben, but just what it does is like good enough. I think just the ability to DNA up, and then you're able to trash and do all this stuff, and you have some pretty decent low end that came out in the newer sets with like a black based low end. So I kind of want to put it in trash tier, but because I love my boy Ben, we're gonna put it tier 3. Sorry, Ben. The Kabu Terry deck right now is also just trash tier. I don't even know where to put it. It's probably not. Yeah, sure. It auto spawned there. It went from here to there. I don't know how that happened, but it's not that good. The suspended effect can help you out versus specific matchups. There might be some matchups at the higher end where you can win the matchup off the fact that they can't destroy you, and then you're able to just go for like suspend and start piercing, and then you have the tamer that like redirects into it. I think it can be okay, but it's not that good. The Ryudomon stuff I kind of want to put in here because I already kind of ranked the Digipolice stuff, and I feel like it's very similar. Obviously, you can kind of go different lines, but I don't really know where to put that outside of just putting it right next to where we have D-Brigade already. Leviamon is in contention for the best deck. I think Numamon is better, but yeah, these are probably... You know what, now that we're here, I'll do this. I think I'm fine with this, because then Mirage is top of tier 2 with like these 4 decks, and then I think these ones are like the higher contention to win tournaments, but yeah, we'll move Red Hybrid up. I think Leviamon is very strong right now. Biting Crush is a hell of a card. Bird deck I think is bad. Apocalypse, I'm going to put it here because I've seen so many different Apocalypse builds post ban, and I think it has some good matchups. Like, you're going to smoke Beelstarmon, but you're probably also going to get cooked by like most of the decks in tier 1 and tier 2, and probably a lot of them's in tier 3. So just off the fact that I don't think there's really a solid post-apocalypse build right now, it's kind of agreed upon in the meta, I'm just going to put it in what are we doing, because I can't really rank it when there's not a real deck going around. Bunnies, I'll just put top of tier 3. I think this deck is really bad. It's just like a starter deck with some new cards. My locals are obsessed with it. I think it's bad. I don't know. Maybe it's tier 2. I'm not a fan. Old Man. I don't know what we're doing with the Old Man, but that's okay. Also, don't really see any consistent builds with this. Like, it might be trash. I played it against it once and it didn't do too much, but I think because I haven't seen too much of it, I'm just gonna throw it down here. Okay, the Gray Nightmon. Sure. Yeah. I played against it. I don't know. Wasn't impressed. Craniumon. Okay, first of all, this specific Craniumon, the OG Craniumon, fun fact, my least favorite card that's ever been printed in Digimon. And I also don't really know what we're using it in right now, outside of like maybe like an Apocalypse type stuff. So we're just going to throw it in there, as well as our little lad right here. He's going to go into what are we doing. But we did it. We made it through it. I have no idea how long this video is going to be looking at my recording time, but if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know down below if I missed any decks, what you want to know is ranked. Let me know why I'm wrong about your favorite deck. I'd love to hear it because I am still learning the game. This is not a definitive tier list. This is just my experiences as I've been getting back into the game and starting to prep for regionals and stuff like that. But with that being said, I'll catch you next time. Peace out.